been some time since I last made a video about a knife from TRC. I've gone over quite a few of their models. Started off with Apocalypse, then I did a South Pole. After that I did a Military, then I did Classic Freedom, I believe, and then I finally did This is Freedom. And now we have come to the Speed Demon. So this is a model I've been looking at for quite some time. I'm not sure why I never pulled the trigger back in the days when I had a chance. But you know, it's all about priorities, I guess. But now we are finally here. And this is the unboxing part and, well, the overview part and the specs and everything. But I have to admit that this is not going to be an authentic, first time unboxing. All of my other videos, or all of my other TRC videos and all of my other videos in general are, actual, first time unboxings. But this time around, it is not. And the reason for that is because I went out for a one night hike some, a week or two ago. And I wasn't really planning on putting the knife to any hard use, but I ended up having to use it quite a bit, and I did actually manage to get a small scratch in on the well, not the coating, but well, the blade finish, we can say. So that is not how. So what you're gonna see here is not how the knife actually came to me, but the unboxing is gonna be, well, it is the way the knife was delivered. But I have put the knife to use, and there is like a micro scratch that will actually show use, and that was put there by me, not the maker. So that is how it is. But let's take a look here. Your typical box, pretty much the same size, regardless if you get a South Pole, a Apocalypse, or a small Speed Demon. You still get quite a large package at that. So we can see here on the side it says, well, maybe you can see, maybe you can not, depending on the focus, but it says Speed Demon Apocalypse Finish, and then a number 53 out of 300. So this is a limited run of 300. So let's unbox it, shall we now? And we get a sticker. The same kind that's been given the last couple of years, at least to my knowledge. Nice, silver finish to it, glossy, shiny finish. I also got this Velcro thing here that you can put on your backpack or another surface that goes with this sort of material. Nice little extra. And we also get a, let's put this aside for now, and those as well. We also get this small booklet, I guess we could call it, or manual perhaps. Opening it up, we get some information from Andreas, the man himself, the maker of and founder of TRC knives. We also get some additional information about the model itself. And here we can read that chasing the land speed record is the ultimate quest of the modern man. In the roaring 20s, this dream was epitomized by Frank Lockhart, America's legendary racing driver. A true daredevil, a self-learned mechanic, and a true speed demon, Lockhart was the definitive hero everyone talked about at their dinner tables. In 1926, he became the youngest winner of the Indy 500 at just 24. Lockhart went on to win many more prestigious races, capturing the imagination of the American people. But his true goal was the elusive land speed record. On April 25, 1928, Lockhart climbed aboard his remarkable supercharged V16 Stutz Blackhawk on Daytona Beach. Just 25 years old at the time, Lockhart was flying at a record-breaking 220 miles per hour when suddenly the right rear tire blew and the world stopped turning. Today his legend lives on as the speed demons of our age are continuing to push the boundaries of the possible. That was, a bit of an interesting history lesson, I'd say, for the naming of this knife. And onto the actual, knife design and use, we get some additional written text here. When handcrafting this urban style knife, we thought about Lockhart and his way of life. A lightweight model of 70 grams, Speed Demon features innovative urban design and a skeletonized handle. For stylish and awe-inspiring everyday carry, you really can't go wrong with Speed Demon. It looks as sharp as it cuts. It is small enough to carry comfortably, yet up to the most challenging cutting tasks. The knife measures 180 mm overall and 4.2 mm thick with 80 mm hand-ground blade. Handmade Kydex sheath is included. It is a knife for those who are ambitious and seriously addicted to adrenaline. Whoever will own the Speed Demon knife will feel the power of roaring and untamed manliness rushing through their blood. That's quite a bold statement for such a small knife. Anyways, moving on here, we get some information about maintenance. Some additional information about maintenance. Then we get the lifetime warranty section. And then we end with the certificate of authenticity, stating the model name, the Speed Demon, 53 out of 300, steel is M390, that's 60 to 61 HRC, apocalypse finish, date of construction or manufacturing, and the signature of Andrews. So that is pretty much it for the small manual or booklet here. Now that I think about it, it's not not that many knives that get this kind of presentation folder with it. So on to the actual knife itself. As you can see, this is your typical packaging of sorts that TRC is known for. So let's unbox this little demon, shall we? Here we have the little M390 demon in its handmade Kydex sheath. So let's take a look at that first. Yeah, we do get some sort of paracordish cord here, and that is if you want to carry the knife around your neck like this. And if you do carry a knife around your neck, you want the retention of the Kydex sheath to be quite good so the knife doesn't fall out. So if we start by taking a look at the retention here. It does take a bit of an effort to remove the knife like this. Not super tough retention, but definitely tough enough that you cannot shake it loose. And that is the most important part, I would say. In my humble opinion, I do think that TRC makes some of the best Kydex sheath in the business. I've had zero issues with any of my sheaths made by TRC. All of them quite nice. If you do not want to carry this sheath around your neck, there is a belt strap here, or belt loop of sorts. So you can carry it in a scout position on your belt, or if you want to attach it to perhaps a backpack or any other thing like that. But me, I'm probably gonna carry it either scout or just in my pocket, in my pants. So let's see, and the rattling. There may be a sound of rattling, but it's actually not a knife. It is from this part. This is what makes the noise. So if we hold that perhaps, there really is not any rattling going on. The knife is very tightly secured. That much I can say. So I think that's probably it for the Kydex sheath. It is small, it is functional. It has all the things you can expect and want from a Kydex sheath. You also have this little hole in here if the knife does get damp or wet or anything. So yeah, I think it is a nice, small, functional Kydex sheath. Everything you could expect from it. So taking a look at the knife itself. So I did mention that I put this knife to some use and that I managed to mess up the finish a little bit. Looking at the finish right now here, you see, well, we've already seen this in the preview of this video or in the intro segment, but it is a very nice finish, this apocalyptic heat treatment finish, with all of the knives being unique in terms of pattern and parts of coloring, etc. I am very happy with the way this specific Speed Demon turned out. And the part that I messed up a little here, let's take a look at that. It is on the upper part here, right there. In certain lights it's not even visible, in others it is. I have a theory that it got like this when I did some batoning. Yes, I did batone with the knife, and there must have been some sort of dirt or something that pressed against the spine when I went through the piece of wood here, and I gave this straight line scratch mark, if it is visible or not. So I honestly don't care much about that, but I thought I should point it out. I have no experience with this finish before, but apocalyptic finish does seem to be increasingly popular with knives from TRC. I see this finish popping up quite a lot with both the Apocalypse, the South Pole, the K1S, and then the Speed Demon, and perhaps even some more models. So it is a finish that is here to stay. And like I said, I have no previous experience with this finish and how it will act. I wouldn't put flits or anything on this knife to clean it up, because I reckon that would also mess up the finish. But we will see how well the finish holds up to certain use. But like I stated, all my knives are users, and I personally have no issues with small marks, etc., as long as the knife performs. And this is no crack. I want to get it out of the way. This is a surface scratch. So let's talk a little bit about the specifications here, even though we got some of them listed in this booklet here. But looking at it like this, we have a total length of 180 millimeters with a cutting length of 80 millimeters and a blade thickness of 4.2 millimeters. And the weight of this knife is 72 grams. So I mean, it is a small knife, but it is definitely not my smallest fixed blade. I do have fixed blades that are, 3 finger grips and smaller than that, and cutting lengths of well, not really half this length, but a lot smaller. But when you have a knife in this size, still being a small light knife, but with actual, full 4-finger grip and this kind of blade length, you can actually do a lot of stuff with it. So it may be a small knife, but it's not really limited too much with its size than it is compared to those really small fixed blades where you can actually only do certain certain knife related tasks. With this one I can do pretty much, well, not everything, but a lot of the things I want to be able to do with a knife. And ergos, if you should talk a little about that, or perhaps we should let's focus a little bit more about the specs here. So we already stated that the blade is in M390, which is one of my favorite knife steels for folding knives, but also for certain fixed blades. I do have some M390 blades from TRC, the Classic Freedom, and I guess that This is Freedom is also M390, and those two held up quite well. I also know that TRC released the 10th anniversary South Pole and actually changed the steel on that model from LMAX to M390. So I know that they have the steel and the properties and the heat treatment all spot on. And well, since I've already used this knife a bit, even for batoning, I know that that this knife will hold up with, well, actually semi-hard use. As you can see, the knife has a drop point, but it's also a bit of a, let's call it a mini harpoon grind with a small swedge to it. Might actually be quite difficult to see. Maybe it's too dark, maybe it's just out of focus, etc. But there are some interesting grinds to this. So you do have the full thickness up to here, and then it goes into a small harpoon grind with a swedge coming down nicely to a really fine. I'd say this, the tip is kind of strong actually, and kind of pointy, making it, well, pretty versatile actually. The balance point of the knife, well, it is a back heavy knife, so it should be around, well, around there, I'd say. No surprise that the knife is kind of back heavy, given, well, the size of the knife. I will mention that I've seen this knife in a non-skeletonized version where they put some inlays or blocks here of carbon fiber or G10 perhaps, but I haven't seen those in quite some time. Maybe it will make a return, maybe not, but they are out there. I guess people might think that the knife is not very comfortable being skeletonized, but fact is, it is surprisingly comfortable in hand. I was really surprised by how comfortable it is, and it is, it is not fully rounded, but it is, there are no real sharp edges. But as you can see, it is not completely rounded either, but it is, ground in a way that makes it feel just good in your hand, I'd say. And speaking of hands, or my hand in particular, I wear size 10, I have fairly large hands. Placing this knife in my hand looks like this. Easily a full 4-finger grip. And if you have larger hands and you go out like this, then you can also remove this little paracord thing here, or lanyard, if you feel like that is pressing into your hand. I do not have that issue though. So holding the knife like this feels surprisingly good, and I have done a lot of work with this knife already. Placing your thumb here on the full spine thickness feels really natural. So in my opinion, it does, the ergos are actually, spot on. That much I can say. And as we can see here on the blade, we do have a little bit of belly, but there is also this milled out, or, well, I'm not sure what to call it. I mean, this is not a fuller, but it is a milled out area. And I'm not sure if it's there for, weight reduction, or if it's for, style purpose, or why they went with that. I mean, I will say that it looks nice, but I do wonder if I would have liked it better if it was not there, so we could get the full, the full belly on this flat ground blade. Especially when, if we're doing some slicing of fruits or vegetables, or even processing some animal or something, if it would have been perhaps better with this part, well, not ground out this way. Not a big deal really, but just pointing it out. And let's see here what, oh, I got some blood on my finger. Yes, the knife is indeed sharp. No clue how I managed to get that. Anyway, so looking at some of the markings here on the knife, we have this apocalypse or biohazard mark here with the text 2022 unwrit, quite small, so I'm not sure if it's visible in the camera. Turning the knife on the other side, we have the TRC knives logo right there. Looking at the top of the blade here, we have the Speed Demon, the model name. We have the steel type, M390. And looking at the back part, lower end here on the other side, we have the serial number 53 out of 300. So that being said, I think we have gone over the specs, the overall design, the balance point, the ergos, yeah, pretty much everything I want to mention in this part of the full video review. We have also partially gone over the sharpness, since I somehow managed to cut my finger a bit without even noticing it. So a small, well-designed knife from a user standpoint, and from a more, well, collector standpoint as well, I reckon. Now it's time to put the knife to some actual use. And as always, we're gonna start off with some different sharpness tests, and then move on to well, whatever I feel like doing with this knife. Stay tuned. We're going to start off by doing a series of sharpness tests. The first one being the slicing of paper. I'm going to slice 3 different kinds of paper. Regular printing paper, some magazine paper, and some newspaper paper. I will say though that, like I stated in the previous segments of this video, I did put this knife to a little bit of use that one night that I was out. And I decided not to do any sharpening or anything, just cleaning the edge. So what you see here is actually, I mean, it is a little bit used factory edge, but I did not do anything with it. So perhaps the knife was slightly sharper when it came to me. Then again, M390 holds an edge like crazy. Yes, I did baton a little with the knife, but still I think that this is going to be close to the factory sharpness regardless. Enough talk, let's get going, shall we? So these are fine cuts, I would say. Fold the paper once. Yeah, so slicing the printing paper is no problem for the speed demon here, even after some use. We could consider this a sharpness test and a semi, edge retention test, I guess. Yeah, so we have now sliced up the printing paper. Let's move on to the magazine paper then, shall we? So just slicing like that, no issues. See if we can make, you know, some wavy patterns perhaps. Yeah. Some waves to it. Just going straight. Yeah, going more straight from the top seems to work as well. So overall, I would say that slicing magazine paper is not that much of a challenge. Yeah. So that was the magazine paper confetti. Not too tough. Then we have the newspaper paper. Well, it's actually breaking apart. It is perhaps, I've had it since saved up for quite some time, so it's pretty dry, almost that you can, you know, break it apart. Or well, not break it apart, but it is really old and dry newspaper. Still, we are getting the job done. So that is the newspaper. I think it went through it pretty good as well. Especially considering that that I have put this knife to some actual use, and I only clean the blade up a little. So that's it for the paper sharpness test. It sliced through all types of paper with ease. Good, dedicated, or great dedicated paper slicer. In the next sharpness test, we're going to slice some leather. They are about the same thickness and type, so we might not actually slice, you know, all of it, but we're gonna slice a little bit of it at least. And we can start with this larger sized piece here. So yeah, let's go for like a, you know what, I think we're gonna zoom out a bit. That will be slightly better, I think, or a better viewing experience of sorts. Easy to penetrate leather, easy to cut all the way through. We can cut this all the way through as well. So these are just some, leftover leather pieces. I use them for random stuff, but right now I have a lot of it, so we can sacrifice a few of those pieces to do just some cutting like this. So this piece is pretty sliced up now, I'd say. Not very difficult slicing leather with this knife. Take another type. I think this is a little bit different in leather texture. Yeah. So this too was fairly easy to just, slice through. Not much of a challenge. Some nice slices, or cuts perhaps you could say. Perhaps we could go like more of a push cutting through like this. We're running out of blade length, but yeah. Yeah, I think that's it for the leather cutting for now. So yeah, this knife will cut leather, simply put. I'm going to throw in a quick paracord sharpness test as well, slicing some different size paracords here. We can start with the thinnest, I guess, would be reasonable, which is this one. Start by cutting just one. Not much of a challenge, so let's cut some more perhaps, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not much of a challenge either, quite easy to cut through all that. Let's see if we can do like one. These are also 4, so well, just for the hell of it. Actually missed one. But that was not so hard, so let's go with this. This is slightly thicker, and then we can just start with some more than we did with the last one. Something like this perhaps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, let's go with that. That will be good. So 6 of this slightly thicker paracord. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we went through all 6 with ease, and now we only have a little bit left here. So let's not use that because it will be not much of a challenge. So this thicker cord here is only a small piece, so maybe we can go I wonder if we can go 4 on that. If I have enough room to actually hold them all. So let's see. 4 of the thickest paracord we have here. Not a lot of grip here, but let's see. Yeah, we cut it all with ease. So paracord slicing, well, it's gonna be easy for this one. We are now gonna do the tomato test. I guess this could, be called part food prep, but in my video it is more of a sharpness test than a food prep part. So let's see if we can cut this tomato up into some nice little pieces, I'd say. Going like, let's go like this first. Perhaps like this. See, it does actually have to work a bit to go through. I will say that the tomato is a bit mushy, but this is actually pretty interesting results. I mean, slicing through it like this will be no issue, of course. It is the actual peel that is, the interesting part here. As you can see, I mean, slicing like this, absolutely no issues. So, I mean, this is just, that is a cakewalk. But we did get quite some, resistance when going through the actual peel of the tomato. Not sure how visible that was on camera, but if you take this one again here and actually try to go right through like this. See. We're actually not really getting through the peel. And I mean, I will say that, yes, I did use this knife before. This is not, brand new out of the box, but I don't think I've done that much work, to be honest. So that the edge should have been, the retention should have, been that. Let's go like this instead. Still getting some resistance there. And there. I mean, even though the knife is fairly sharp, from the other tests we have done, we did not do any leg hair shaving. I was asked not to include it in my future videos from some viewers. But the way this one is right now, I do not think this knife would shave with ease, to be completely honest. So, I mean, we did manage to slice the tomatoes, but it actually struggled quite a bit with the peel, which is interesting. I wonder if it would have sliced right through out of the box if I didn't, put it to some use. I honestly can't tell, but this is the performance I'm seeing after some fairly light use. I mean, I did batone, but it was more like kindling. Then again, some of those pieces that I did batone before were probably not, that clean. There were some, dirt and small stuff like that on them. I did do some feathers, etc. And we know that the edge is not damaged in any way, because we would have seen that during the paper slicing, the paracord slicing, the leather slicing, etc. So yeah, I'm a bit unsure what to think actually. But let's try we're gonna go with some oranges now, see if the performance is better there. Oranges can also be a bit of a challenge in terms of the peel. So let's let's go with oranges. Next I'm gonna clean this this little red mess up here. The tomato test took me a little by surprise, I'm not gonna lie. I definitely thought we would, you know, get through the peel without any issues whatsoever. But it turned out we had to work a little bit there. And even so, it wasn't, you know, a completely, you know, flawless slicing performance. But now we're gonna try a orange here, blood orange at that. This peel can also be tricky. That's why I picked tomato and oranges, because they usually pose the most challenge for the knife. So let's see what we can do here. I'm gonna go with full slices because that will be the most challenging task, and then we can, I do have one extra orange, we can probably do something else with that one. So let's see. Well, this is a lot easier. Strange, I was dead sure we were gonna have some issues with this as well. I mean, maybe that was some kind of a super tomato I tried to slice up, I'm not quite sure. I mean, I did not sharpen the knife in between, that I did not do. But here we are getting some, you know, well, one was not perhaps the finest slice, but they are, you know, really, I mean, if you see it like this, really, really thin slices. I am a little bit confused right now in terms of performance. I don't have any more tomatoes at home, I only had that one left, so maybe if I would have had one extra, we could have tried, you know, with a chef knife or something to see, you know, if there was some type of, you know, super tomato of sorts, which I honestly doubt. But this orange should have posed, you know, a challenge as well for the edge. Now I kind of wish we had a bit more of blade length here. I'm not even sure what we're doing. This is just some really random slicing, or, well, not really slicing, more like dicing perhaps. Let's go with these and yeah, I mean, let's see, I do have one more orange at least. Let's do something else with that one. Very surprising results right now. I am a little bit confused, not gonna lie. Let's see if we can, let's try to remove some meat here from them as well. Yeah, let's just settle with that. Slice this up. No one will of course eat them like this, but just, you know, I did say that this is perhaps not a food prep part, but more of a sharpness test. Although I am quite confused right now in terms of sharpness, because I'm getting some very mixed results, or whatever you want to call it, so quite confusing. So, I mean, in terms of slicing oranges, the knife performed really well, but the tomatoes, well, not quite as well. But yeah, I mean, make of it what you want, because I'm not really sure. Next up, we're gonna peel an apple, and I consider this also as a sharpness test and not a food prep part. I'm not sure there are people who even peel their apples before they eat them, but maybe there are those people. So let's start peeling. I haven't peeled an apple in a long time, so we will see how this goes. Of course, there are people who actually do peel apples, but I honestly, I don't quite get it. Then again, I'm not a fan of apples, really, to begin with. But if I do eat them, I will eat them with, peel and everything. So, the first peel part fell off. Not too bad. Let's continue where we sort of left off, shall we? Second peel part. And yes, we do of course want to get as thin of a peel as possible. And I am no apple peeling master, so might just have to take it for what it is, let's say. Some leftover parts here. Not sure how, Well, it is pretty much peeled, I would say. Yeah, away with that. So we got 1 peel, 2 peels, 3 peels. So yeah, I will say that, from a peeling perspective, I think it did a pretty good job. If you had better technique than what I have, then it would have been, of course, even easier. But, well, this is where we are at. Try to put them back on here. No one will notice a thing. Let's try the balance point. Yeah, apple peeling. So let's try to make some feathers from these, well, from this piece perhaps, or perhaps that one. Not quite sure. Would I prefer to do this out in the woods, with just some twigs and sticks or whatever, but thought I'd try to make a video here at home as well to save some time, perhaps.
I only have crap piece of wood here to make feathers from, so that is why we are getting the results we are getting right now, sort of. You know, I don't know. Yes, this is the same type of wood as well, so won't be much of a difference, I reckon. Yeah, let's cut that off because it's just... I don't like working with this specific wood. It doesn't really make for a very good showcase of feathers. Should have just ventured into the woods and grabbed some nice dry, you know, small sticks and twigs and gone with them instead. But I thought I would save some time and, you know, get this video going. So, I mean, we are getting some feathers or curls or whatever you want to call them. Would, you know, potentially work to get a fire started. Would perhaps need a bit more, but I mean, the knife will feather. And if I only had some better pieces of wood here we could go with, then I could have shoved it some more, but I'm gonna leave it at this for now. It will make feathers. Next up, we're gonna do some carving. We're gonna turn this piece of wood here into a spear-like shape on one side. So I know this knife bites kind of deep, so it shouldn't be that hard to make that happen. So hopefully we can get it on camera as well. I mean, this knife has a great bite to it. But it was quite a large piece of wood to get into that, you know, spear-shaped. Slowly but surely working our way there. So now we are getting there. quite pointy. Or using the actual knife as the backdrop here. So we did turn it into a stick weapon, or well, something else, I don't know what, but this was just a mere carving test of sorts, I would say. And it does, like I said, it does have a really good bite to it. Try to thin it out even more. Yeah, I can get some feathers as well, huh? Well, now we have really, thinned it down quite a bit from the original, thickness and size, like this, to this. Quite a bit of carving, I'd say. Maybe we should make this into a toothpick instead, huh? Could that be something? Should we settle like this for the carving part? I think we should. I think this is kind of enough. Yep. So right now we're gonna start doing some batoning, and we're gonna batoon the pieces that I have in the background here. And some people might say now, those pieces are already batooned. That is what, firewood size would look like. And well, it would be partially true. I did do this with an axe, splitting a larger log, and well, I think we could still use smaller pieces of wood and kindle to start a fire, aside from using some feathers, etc. So there is still a purpose of making smaller pieces of wood than this. We also have to remember that this is not a very large knife. We have a cutting edge length of 80 millimeters. So that is what we have to keep in mind. We can't just go with So, for example, a piece like this. Sure, we could go like this, a little bit on the side here, and try to get it smaller and smaller. But I really don't feel like doing that. So I feel like it's better to try it out with these sizes here. Some of them are actually not super small, and will provide a little bit of a good test at least for making kindling. But I think that we're going to start with the smaller pieces and then work our way up. And if we find that it is too easy, then well, maybe I will just have to find another piece that we can test our limits with. And I'm going to use this batoning hammer, which is of course just a regular piece of wood, nothing else than that. And let's start this now, shall we? Go from the side like this. A great batoning hammer. So, one of the perks here with a skeletonized knife is that you do not really have any handle scales to damage, so you can beat on it pretty much wherever you want, which is a bit different from a regular sized knife. This could be a challenging piece despite being on the smaller side, because as well some of you might see and understand, there is a knot here, and that could prove to be a bit of a challenge. And we're gonna go straight through it. And through it we went, and here it is. You see that? So despite being a small piece, it's still a bit of a challenge. And how did the M390 blade hold up for that? I see no damage to the edge at all. So that is a good thing, right? Let's try one of the slightly larger pieces then. And this is just, ever so slightly larger. Not too difficult. Then we go to something that is, in fact, a bit larger here. And then we go into the second largest piece of them. Let's go straight through like this. This is the kind of batoning sort of that I did when I was out that night when I needed to get a fire started, and I had to make some smaller pieces of wood to make that happen. But the thing was that those pieces of wood were full of dirt and perhaps some gravel and stuff, so that is what I think messed up that little scratch part on the blade. So let's go to this part now, which is here we also have a knot in the very end here. Slightly, pretty large piece of. Can we actually go through it all like this? Not a lot of beat on, just. Yeah, so you can actually. I'm seeing some interesting stuff right now here. We're gonna look at it in a little bit. So, or wait, perhaps not. I thought I saw some of the finish come off here, but it did not. So I thought I was gonna show you some not damage, but some finishing scraping off, but it did not. So my bad. Where is my batoning hammer? No. Man. I can't see any difference between my batoning hammer and the pieces of this. Oh wait, here it is. So let's do some more. So making kindling like this is actually not too tough, so maybe we should in fact go for something slightly more slightly more challenging. I'll see if I can find something interesting. So yeah, let's go with this. Is a good size for an axe. But let's see if we can approach this in some way. I bet this barge is gonna be really tough to get through. This is gonna be, the challenge here is gonna be the barge, or the bark. It's so frigging... It's difficult, you know, approaching such a large piece with this kind of small knife. It's just not, doesn't really feel. And the thing is, we are getting cracks on the inside here, but it is the bark that messes it up. I mean, we are getting through. We are cracking the wood, but the bark is intact and it's really how should I put it? It's not easy breaking up or cutting through. I feel like, you know, cheating and going with a wedge here, like, well, like any sane normal person would do in this case. You see, so we did get a piece off here, but this is what's holding it together. Man, it is tough. Let's say we were to go like, you know, this instead. Then again, it will be pretty difficult to... Yeah, I mean, choose your pieces to baton wisely. And this is a frigging M390 blade at that. It's too hard to actually get in there. I want to try another piece. This is just too tricky to work with. Let's see. Oh yeah, we have a random piece. Not too small either. Should be able to. Now we're going against the grains, which will be a bit tricky, but let's friggin' do this anyways. I mean, we almost have the cutting length for it. Almost. Piece by piece, can we take this down? I mean, would have been nice to get a slightly more piece off here, just so that we can so let's try to baton through the rest here now. Once again, the bark is going to be the tricky part here, no doubt about that. Yeah. Why do I do this with such a small knife in M390 at that? Yeah, well, we did get a piece through, and like I said, the bark is what keeps it together like that. Now this will be a piece of cake when there is no piece of cake, but it will be a lot easier with no bark. I think that's gonna be it for the batoning session. I need a small break, but I will say, that the knife is, despite being skeletonized, this is a nice knife to work with in terms of ergos. Both when I did the carving, the feather sticking and the batoning, it actually feels pretty good. Yes, I am using gloves, but I mean it's not like they are very shock resistant in any way. So yeah, and the edge looks just fine, no issues. And the finish looks solid, no issues with that. Yes, there are some marks and smudges, etc. But I bet that will clean right off. So that is what I'm gonna go inside and do right now. Try to clean it up a bit.
We have now reached the final part of this quite lengthy video review. All of my video reviews for TRC knives tend to be lengthy. This one was a little bit different. I tried to make the segments a little bit shorter. I spent less time out in the woods, which is actually not a good thing perhaps, but I did it to be able to increase the efficiency in my recordings of my video reviews. Regardless, let's speak a little bit and try to sum things up here. One thing that I forgot to do this, but I thought it could be interesting to take a look at the Speed Demon compared to the Classic Freedom, which used to be my smallest blade from TRC knives. So, and both of them M390 blades as well. Just quite different designs, but let's see in terms of size here. Some people might find it interesting to see how the Speed Demon compares to a small knife such as the Classic Freedom. You can also see in terms of blade thickness and just general design. So very different knives. I would say. The Speed Demon being quite a bit smaller, but you do get in terms of blade handle ratio. I mean, we do get some good blade length still on the Speed Demon, I would say. But this is I just thought I'd throw in this little bit of comparison of sorts. And in terms of ergos, well, the Classic Freedom is very nice. It's nice feeling in hand. But I will say once again that this knife is surprisingly ergonomical as well. Just, a bit different. So, back to the Speed Demon here. I think that in the included booklet or manual or whatever you want to call it, it said that this is one, tough knife. Small tough knife. And that is, exactly what it is. It is a really, really tough little companion in a very nice steel that has held up great to all the tasks we have done. I still wonder what it was that I did that made this little scratch mark here. Maybe it wasn't from batoning, maybe I did something else, I'm not quite sure, because we batoned the hell out of this knife and I could see nothing from that. So not quite sure what I did. And in terms of sharpness, the knife is sharp, but I was surprised that the tomato slicing that the peel was actually giving us a bit of a hard time. Then again, I wasn't using the out of the box edge. I still haven't done any sharpening or anything to this blade, but I had used this knife a bit before we did the slicing of the tomatoes and all other slicing or sharpness tests. So I can't say for sure if this knife would, have sliced that tomato better straight out of the box. That much I can say. But it is still sharp enough for all of my needs. I mean, we could cut all the different or slice all the different kinds of paper with no issues whatsoever. We could cut paracord or slice paracord effortless. We could slice the leather effortless. So I mean, yeah, we could slice the orange effortless as well. And we could also peel an apple quite easy. So it was in fact only the tomato that gave us some issues. I never did try to shave any leg hair or arm hair. Well, I don't really have a lot of arm hair going on by default. And my leg hair is, well, it's pretty much all used up for other tests that I've done recently. But I also decided to leave out the shaving of leg hair due to viewers not wanting to see that. And I mean, that's understandable, I guess. Making feathers, yes, this knife will make feathers. If we had better pieces of wood, we could have done even better, finer, longer, thinner feathers than what we did. But it's not a problem making feathers with this knife. We did, batoning I mentioned, and we batoned quite a lot, and that is when I like having a knife with no scales, a skeletonized knife like this, because, well, you don't risk, breaking any scales or pins or anything like that. You can utilize the handle for beating on a little. So batoning was, you still have to pick your pieces. You can't go with too big a pieces, but for making some small kindling for a fire, this knife will do the trick. In terms of carving, I think we did a lot of carving actually, and the knife performed quite well. So woodwork is not an issue. And aside from that, what more have we done? Or is that it perhaps? I think that is perhaps it. But I think we put it through a lot of the stuff you could, throw at a knife at this size. That much I can say. And I really like this knife. That is why I brought it with me before I even recorded anything, and used it a little bit, because it's so easy to carry with you. And I really feel like that, that this is quite possibly my favorite neck knife out of all the neck knives I own. It's just super handy, comfortable, sturdy, in a fantastic steel. I will touch the edge up a little bit. I will make it hair popping sharp, not because I intend to sit and shave my legs with it, but because it will be a better companion in an outdoor kitchen if I want to perhaps slice some tomatoes. I guess I can slice pretty much anything but tomatoes well right now. Still, we did process the 2 tomatoes that were shown, but I want it to be a little bit more effortless, so to say. I guess that's kind of it. Trying to find a balance point here again. I did mention the balance point in the beginning, did I not? Yeah, I must have done that. So a really nice knife, really great companion. You won't even feel you are carrying it, and it's just one of those designs that just work. As with most designs from TRC knives, I will say, I think I'm gonna go and get a satin version of this blade when or whenever it is released once again. I think that this limited run of 300 Speed Demons will sell out quite fast. So hopefully Andreas will make some more in, well, I kind of hope satin finish, but we will see. And like I mentioned, they did do a version with some G10 or carbon fiber inlays here, but I'm not, thinking of picking that knife up. I think, it's even more usable the way it is, like this, with a fully, skeletonized handle. At least since I think the Argos work so well for me, so I don't at all feel a need to go with any inlays at all. Yeah, I think that's gonna sum it up. If you can, if you're interested in this knife, and if you see it available, you better hurry, because this knife will sell out, and for a good reason. This is a fantastic little neck knife with just the right, proportions, attributes, etc. No wonder it's been so popular. The only strange thing is why I didn't pick one up earlier, but it is what it is. I have one now, and if I get the chance, I will pick up one more in another finish.